So I thought I'd do this a little different. What you're looking at are videos that have been compiled together of jobs from this past year to go with the presentation of odor control technician and fire and smoke restoration technician. In this scenario, what you're looking at was a fire from the garage. They actually were growing marijuana plants. There was also petroleums, as well as a dog that died. So I'd say, based on all that in the high heat scenario, it's a very complicated loss. The firemen came in, made a lot of penetrations into a lot of areas that created smoke impaction as well as heat impaction to areas that you typically wouldn't see this far away from the cause of loss or cause of origin. I'm going to start with odor control technician. Question is, what would be recommended treatment for severe protein odors? My answer to that would be severe protein odors are highly recommended to deodorize immediately. There's huge benefits of deodorizing right away. I would also chem sponge and wall wash with a high surfactant. We use a foaming agent with a machine so that there's less moisture. We also use pairing agents as well as oxidizers to deodorize, and sometimes sealing is necessary. Question number 2 is, what happens when urine decomposes? Urine naturally is acidic when it's wet. When it dries, it creates, or I should say when it decomposes, it becomes alkaline. The crystals, which are salts, absorb relative humidity as well as moisture, water, and it releases those odors when it's wet. Number 3, explain a pairing agent. A pairing agent bonds to odor particulates, making it odorless. Explain the third principle in effective deodorization. The third principle in deodorization is penetration. Replicating the conditions, allowing for deeper penetration of deodorization. I'm a huge component and a huge fan of thermal expansion. We will use thermal expansion even in non-heat, high heat scenarios to open up those pores and be able to have deeper penetration of our counteractants or our pairing agents. FSRT, fire and smoke restoration technician. Question number 1, when wall washing, in which direction do you proceed? You always wash from the ground, working your way up. Why do you wash from the bottom to the top? The answer to that is to avoid streaking. Wouldn't the dirty water run over the freshly cleaned wall surfaces? They shouldn't. Number 1, you're using a surfactant, which is going to remove the tension, the surface tension. So that dirty water from the top shouldn't adhere or stick to your clean surfaces. If you have that much water running down your clean walls, you're most likely using too much moisture. This is a huge reason why we always use a foaming agent with a foaming machine, so that there's less moisture and there's less potential of streaking. When looking for possible odor pockets due to a fire, what are some considerations? I would consider ceiling fans, outlets, pocket doors, chases, crown molding, inside of sockets, cabinets. These are all areas that are going to have pocketed potential for odors and contaminants. In a heavy smoke situation, what are some considerations when addressing cleaning ceiling fans and light fixtures? For one, they absolutely should be detached. I would definitely detach those because of those pocketed areas for potential of odors as well as contaminants. But if you have a heavy smoke situation, most likely you're going to want to replace versus clean. I would definitely probably consider just replacing them and not wasting the time cleaning them. In a heavy, why in some fires can you see not only the nail heads, but also where each stud is behind the wall? In my video, I did include a video where you can actually see the nail heads as well as the studs. And that's from heat impaction from a high heat area of heat penetration. You can see the nail heads and the studs due to heat penetration, possibly smoke penetration by expansion. So between the heat as well as the smoke penetration, it heats up those nails, which is why you can visually see it as well as those studs themselves. In the scenarios above, which one requires drywall refinishing and what will be the criteria for making that decision? The above scenario, which requires drywall refinishing, is going to be a high heat penetration scenario, which majority of the time you're absolutely going to need to seal as well as possibly refinish. In this job that I had shown you, we actually removed one side so that we can replicate those conditions, create heat expansion, and preserve one side by sacrificing the other. So as a little bonus, I thought I would kind of moderate these jobs that we have going on or commentate. This was a very complicated loss. The insurance, as well as the homeowners, wanted to preserve the house, even though the heat line had just completely charred a lot of the trusses and framing. So due to the integrity of the roof, we didn't want to get on it. So we actually use oscillating boom lifts, and we had to shore up all these exterior walls, interior walls, as well as shore up the roof itself, and then slowly dissect 3-foot segments at a time, which was a very complicated loss. Here you can see everything's been dry ice blasted. We removed the entire roof. There was some sanding done as well, but before we encapsulate, we want to address all the contaminants and soot and paction that was actually underneath the crawl space. I see this a lot where this is entirely missed. So what we went ahead and did is we treated this crawl space. We removed the subflooring. We left some tie-ins about 6 inches from all the sill plates. Essentially we removed all the dirt, a good layer of maybe an inch in some areas and in some areas less. We applied a visqueen vapor barrier and then we encapsulated everything. I thought I'd throw this in as well. We have our own state-of-the-art cleaning facility where we have an exporter machine, Fireline M2 series, deionize. We have dry rooms as well as hydroxyl and deodorization chambers. We just recently built a desiccant, which is climate controlled for a drying room. as well as a state-of-the-art electrostatic room for electronics,